The folks out visiting in the aisles. It's such a beautiful January morning. We appreciate you being here in the sanctuary, and those of you who are on Zoom, and even those who are watching this later on our archives. You know, we're glad to be with you for another day of reflection and introspection. I'm Dave Bianchi, your worship associate, and I'm really looking forward to today's service. So if you're new to us, know that we're a welcoming community and that we care deeply for all people, regardless of racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Our mission is to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. And now note that there will be no formal offertory today, but those of us here at the fellowship can simply leave our contributions or our pledge in whatever amount you feel free and feel called to do in the container that's provided. Now, both of those, you on Zoom and those of us here, can also do this by the way of texting 73256. That's 73256. Put UUFNN in the message box and hit send. And of course, you can mail a check to our office. And each month, we share our offerings with a great nonprofit that shares our values. And this month, we've been honoring CASA, court-appointed special advocates that serve our youth in the foster care system. Now, volunteers advocate for those abused and neglected children. Children with a CASA volunteer are often more successful in school and become more productive citizens. So we thank you for your generosity. Now, for those of us here at the fellowship, please follow the latest protocols as we've outlined, been outlined by the board, including proper spacing, no hugging, handshaking, wear your mask. In fact, we have masks out front, those high-quality N95 masks, as well as kids' masks. So we're serious about being safe. But we all know this drill by now. Now, those of you on Zoom will remain muted during the service, but you can put comments in the chat box, and you can also stay on following the service for coffee time. Well, as you know by now, Reverend Karen's going on a 2-month sabbatical. She has 6 months coming. She's already done 2. She's going to now take 2 for February and March. And we just thought we'd send her off with some good wishes. So I'd like to call Lois up here for a second. Lois is, if you don't know, a master sign maker. This one behind us is done by her. And she's been bringing this sign every week. I don't know that our minister has seen it. Where'd our minister go? There she is.
I summoned her.
Oh, you summoned her up here. So, Lois, do you have any comments?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Karen for all that she does for us, all of us. And we really do wish her the best in this sabbatical, and come back with a rah, rah, rah for us.
There you go, Reverend Karen. Well, so no matter where you are today, sit back and enjoy.
We have the opportunity to come together on Sunday mornings, as this morning, for a time away, a respite, a time out of time, a time to shut down and be away from some of the noise that is out there. And maybe we shut down some of the noise that is in here as well, so that we can tune in to each other. We can bring forth our whole selves. So whatever it is that you bring, and whatever space that you're in this morning, you're invited into this place with your whole self as we spend this time this morning pondering a little bit about who we are together. Those at home are invited to access the chalice that you have nearby, and Dave Bianchi will light our chalice for us in this space. And I'm going to invite us to these chalice lighting words that many of you will know. If you do, say them with me. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Let's join together in our hearts for our opening song, I Am Willing.
So strange, it dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic all across the nation. There is wailing the whole world round. May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. Make me mighty, oh true illusion. Give me a desert to hold my feast. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change.
Hi, I'm Dave and Lois. This is Lois Bianchi, and we've been members of this fellowship for most of our married lives, which is about 54 years, I believe, that we've been members. You know, when we joined our fellowship,
was meeting in the foyer of the YWCA, which is now the Community Center on Valley Road. And so we've seen a lot of changes over this time. And it was amazing when we joined, we didn't really know what we were getting into. When we came the first time, here were all our professors from university, the Holses and the Ruskos and others who I admired a great deal. And it was mostly an intellectual discussion at the time about what's going on in the world and what's going on locally. And that's when we joined. And shortly after that, we left for the military.
And we were in Richmond, Virginia, close to Richmond, Virginia. Dave was in the Army, and we started going to the Richmond Church. And that's where we really found out about Unitarian Universalism. It was a bigger picture than what we saw in our little fellowship here in Reno. When we returned 2 years later, we had started to have our family. So we rejoined back in our fellowship and started raising our children here.
Yeah, and we still didn't have a home, of course. When we came back, they were still meeting in the foyer of the YWCA. We soon moved to another location close to the university for a while, and it was a nice location for the adults, not so great for the kids. And then, because it was owned by a Catholic church, we eventually got booted out of there. And we were kind of homeless for a while. We wandered from spot to spot. Some weren't very great. But we were made to realize that we needed a permanent home. And we had purchased this property that we're on now, and eventually came around to building this building. So we've seen the structural changes, and we've had lots of ministers. The adults, not so great for the kids. And then, because it was owned by a Catholic church, we eventually got booted out of there. And we were kind of homeless for a while. We wandered from spot to spot. Some weren't very great. But we were made to realize that we needed a permanent home. And we had purchased this property that we're on now, and eventually came around to building this building. So we've seen the structural changes, and we've had lots of ministers over the years who have brought different things and different talents to our fellowship. So it's just great now that we're in our own building, and it's been a wonderful journey.
When we moved into this building, our children were almost adults by then, so a lot of time had gone by. And I'm so thankful that they had a chance to grow up in this community, because they had adults that cared for them. They learned how to be successful adults in this community, and they are raising their children right now, and the same ethics and the same values that they learned here, they're giving their own children, and I am very proud of that.
Yeah, and again, when we first started, I said we were a very intellectual group, lots of discussion. We didn't have any music, we didn't have any readings. Eventually, people came to us from other areas who were UUs already and couldn't believe we didn't have any of those things, and so they started to bring talent. People like Joyce Fisher and Sandy Young. And all of a sudden, we now found out maybe we could sing, and maybe we could do readings, and maybe we could be a little bit more spiritual. So while we're still, I think, a little bit intellectual, we've become a long way, and we're very much more spiritual in our services. And so this has been a great transition for us.
And I'd just like to say that when Dave and I joined, we were kids ourselves. We were only 25. And we've continued to grow and prosper, I think, in this fellowship. I consider this a place to be our North Star. We continue to learn and become better individuals because of all of the people here in our fellowship, and I am very proud to be part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's really what we're excited about. Believe we're on the cusp of a major growth with the leadership of Reverend Karen and Kristen and Bill Quinby and our leadership that are volunteering. I believe that this fellowship is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to make an impact, not only on our own individual fellowship community, but on the community at large and within this country and the world. And so we're really excited about the future.
And I'd also like to add that it was the dream that we got when we were in Richmond, Virginia, knowing that we could be a big fellowship here. And now I think the dream is being passed on to everyone here, and it's your dreams that we can continue to grow. So thank you.
Heard recently a story, a real story, experience of several young women who were traveling late into the evening, returning home from an adventure, and they were speeding, and they got stopped by a police officer. And they knew that they were speeding, but what happened was the police officer asked the driver to come get into his car with him. And he put her in the front seat and sent the other girls back to the car. Now, he didn't put her in the back seat where there's that plexiglass divider, as is custom and general procedure. And the other young women became very uncomfortable with this occurrence, so they went back to their car and they called 911 to make sure that this police officer was legit. They found out that he was. But one of the young women in particular went back and stood outside of the car looking into it. Well, the police officer was very unhappy with that, and he asked her what she was doing, and she said, "I'm watching. I'm watching." And he said, "I want you to go back and get into your car." This went on several different times back and forth. She said, "No, I'm going to stand here and watch." She was very uncomfortable with her friend being in that situation. So the officer wrote out the ticket. He gave them a ticket. And he proceeded to arrest the young woman who had stood outside the car looking in, and he took her to jail. It being a small town, there was no one to set bail. This was on a Friday night. She spent the weekend in jail. It may come as no surprise to you that the woman who stood by the car and refused to move, her mother is a UU minister. Not sure what might have happened or what his intentions were had this young woman been left in the car in a very vulnerable situation. Pretty unusual what he engaged in. But I love this image of this woman standing there, bearing witness, being a protector, being a fierce, solid presence for her friend and refusing to move. So powerfully there. So like a standing stone. What's a standing stone? Standing stones are huge stones that are set into the ground vertically. They were put there by Neolithic people in the British Isles and Brittany. There's some all over Europe, especially in Ireland and Africa. There might be single stones, or there might be some put in circle or lines or groups of them. And most of them date back to 4,000 to 1500 BC. There's tens of thousands of these all over the world. Many of us know about Stonehenge. We're familiar with that image of the standing zone. Now, standing stones, how did they get there? Thousands of years ago, how did they get there? It's a great mystery. But what is sure about standing stones is that one person alone did not make that happen. It would have required a community of people, a dedicated and determined community of people working together, sweating together, using their ingenuity and their time and their resources towards something that, for whatever reason, we can only conjecture. Archaeologists and historians can conjecture, maybe for religious ritual, maybe for a community gathering spot, but for whatever reason, clearly, having the standing stone upright in a particular spot was very important to them. What the standing stone says loudly is, here was a community of people who made this happen. Standing stone is an important metaphor and message of who we are together. We are standing stone in all the ways that we make a difference in our community, all the ways that we make a difference to each other. The young women so powerfully, solidly being there for each other. Nope, not moving. We'll be here watching as her protector. Standing stone. Lois and Dave, important and long-term standing stones for our community. You know, sometimes we get so caught up in our head down, swimming through the waves of life, we forget that somewhere, somebody is being a standing stone for us. And more often than not, it is here in this community that someone, some folks, are standing stones for us. I love this wisdom from a 4-year-old that Penny LaPome has as the signature in her emails. Wisdom from a 4-year-old. I walk around like everything is fine, but deep down, inside my shoe, my sock is sliding off. I love that so much. And whenever we're feeling like that, somewhere, especially in this community, a standing stone, someone ready to bear witness, to be there firmly, solidly, all of us together. I'm going to invite you to turn to someone nearby and just say, if you're willing, I will be your standing stone. Take a moment, turn to each other, say that to each other as a reminder. I will be your standing stone. We are here to be each other's standing stones. What a powerful image that is. How comforting it is to know that, to feel that. I could wrap this idea up really neatly right here, but I'm going to take it just a step further outside of our walls for just a moment. I just don't know what we're going to need to do around protecting abortion rights for women. We may need to be a standing stone in this area. With the Supreme Court declining again not to intervene in the Texas law drastically restricting abortion, a ruling by the Supreme Court coming out at some point, conservative states, 29 of them at last count, are rushing to put preemptive laws on the books to preempt whatever the Supreme Court might come out with in Roe v. Wade. And I want you to know that there's a lot of organizing going on in the UUA with this. The information is about it is in our emails. There's webinars, there's ways to organize, and some planning being done. And I want to call that to your attention. Traditionally, progressive clergy have stood with Planned Parenthood. There's a long history of that, wanting to protect women's rights to their own health and agency over their own bodies. I stand firmly myself in that tradition and have for a long time. There's this flyer of faith leaders affirming the opportunity to choose for women. So many messages to the contrary from religion, shaming. And I want to read, it's kind of a clergy manifesto on the back of this. I just want to share this with you. As faith leaders, we affirm your right to make your own decision about your body and your future. We represent many different religions and faith traditions, but we all agree that abortion is a moral choice. Having an abortion will not change God's relationship with you. No one can make this choice but you. You have our love, affirmation, and support. We are here for you. It is all the more important that we stand strong in this community and be standing stones so that we can do the work that we need to do in being standing stones also out there in areas like this. And so I'm just going to remind us today that one of the important ways that we can be standing stones for each other is to make sure our community is here and solid into the future. You know, when Dave and Lois first came into these spaces 50 years ago, they didn't know what things were going to look like decades down the road. And so it's important for us to make sure that this community continues to be here for all those that will follow us into the future. We are in the midst of our stewardship campaign, and this is our clarion call, this moment that we need all of us supporting and moving forward together. Thank you for being the standing stones that you are. Blessed be.
I'm sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love.
And so we gather at the deepest parts of ourselves as we join together for our time of community prayer and meditation. We gather our joys, our concerns, our celebrations, our worries, our fears, our questions. And we gather them together. We want to send out our love and our energy this morning to all those who are dealing with illness, all of those who are undergoing treatment for cancer, all of those who are experiencing and have experienced impacts and loss due to COVID, all of those facing addiction, feeling lonely or depressed. We think of those we know and we love facing challenging situations, and we send out our loving energy to them now. And we lift up the thought in our minds of what is our calling in this community? How is it that we are called in these times to be standing stones? How might we look for opportunities to do that, both individually and as a fellowship, the strong, stable, solid community that we are? May we understand our calling anew to be a powerful, solid presence where it is needed in our community the most. Those who are online with us are invited to take a few moments and record the prayers and meditations of your hearts in the chat as we take a few moments of reflection here in this space. And so we gather all of our feelings, our emotions, our hopes, our dreams, our fears, our worries, all of those intentions, all of those things that are held in the deepest of places without words. And we gather them and we hold them all together in the heart of love. And we offer our gesture one to another that has become our tradition in these couple of years of COVID. One hand on the heart, one hand, palm extended forward, as our way of saying, I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. Let no one feel alone. We see each other, we hear each other. May everyone discover that there is at least one, if not many, standing stones for each of us. Amen.
I'm sending you love to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love. I'm sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you to hold you in love. I am sending you light to hold you, to heal you. I'm sending you light to hold you in love.
As has been mentioned, we are in the midst of our stewardship campaign, and as of right now, we're at about 187,000 toward our goal. We're a little over halfway, and that's with 54 pledge units. 4 of those are brand new, and over half of those are increases, so that is a great start. Going to ask you, if you haven't had the opportunity to make your pledge yet, there's some forms in the back, or you can do it online by clicking on our website. And those of you online, that link should be dropping into the chat right about now. And you can follow that link and fill out a form. You can fill out one here in person. You can fill it out from the email that has been sent. But we really appreciate your intention and attention to bringing it on home for our pledge campaign and getting that done. I wanted to let you know that we are always thinking, trying to figure out next steps in this multi-platform world to raise the quality of the experience in this room and on Zoom. And I am thrilled to tell you that Philip Moore and Bill Quimby have been working very hard in this regard, and very soon we're going to have lighting hanging from the rafters and shotgun microphones like they have in theaters hanging from the rafters. This was approved. We've had proposals, been working on it, approved by the board on Thursday. And what that means is this will go away, this will go away, the mic stands will go away. Our aesthetic on Zoom and in this room will be so much better. As will the quality of sight and sound. So it's always very exciting to be moving forward together in various ways as we continue this very exciting adventure. So do pledge, please. I want to thank our stewardship committee. Bobby Ma has provided incredible leadership to this. The entire committee, Billy Lee, Dunford Jackson, Betty Holtz, Lois Bianchi, they have worked very hard the last several months to present this to you and to make sure that this happens as we go into our budget process very soon. So I want to thank them for their hard work, and they will be the volunteers who will be following up with people that we haven't heard from yet. And you can help that by going ahead and getting your pledge in, and that would be an amazing thing to have happen. As was mentioned earlier and several times the last few weeks, I'll be stepping away for the next couple of months for a time of mini sabbatical, rest, renewal, unplugging, rejuvenating, and I'm looking very much forward to that the next few weeks. And I will be back just as winter is turning to spring, and then we will go forward at that point. And I'm counting on you over the next few weeks to stay steadfast in your attendance, your giving, your pledging. Continue to be the standing stone that we count on all of us to be. You're not going to want to miss out, because we have a series going on during that time called Are You? And it's a deep dive into what it really means to be Unitarian Universalist. We'll have be looking in depth at Unitarian Universalism, what it means for us, and how we live that out in various ways. We'll have a couple of dynamite guest preachers and some dynamite lay preachers presenting on various topics within Unitarian Universalism. You're going to love it. You're going to find it really meaningful and fascinating. So do tune into that series over the next few weeks. And those who are on Zoom, after a closing song, you're welcome to stay on for a time of informal conversations in small groups. Those of you who are here, distance conversations in this room and outside. And we want to continue supporting our Reno Posse. They're always looking for single-serve snacks like granola bars, juice pouches like Capri Suns, and you can always bring those during the week and put them in the bins between the buildings for those to be distributed. Also, water bottles, warm hats and gloves, warm clothing, coats, all of those are welcome as well. Thank you for your support of that very important ministry that we do every week. Those of you who are online are invited to access a stone that you may have with you somewhere in your home for the closing part of our service. And as we engage in our closing song by Melanie DeMoore, I'm going to invite each of you in this room to come forward and choose a stone from the table. And I'm going to ask you to come around this way. I don't want folks around the stuff that's here. So if you could come around this way, select a stone, and then go back around that way, that will be the safest way to do it. And the stone will serve as a reminder of this whole idea of standing stone. Put it where you see it, keep it in your pocket every day. Let that be a reminder to you of this community that is here for you and who we are one to another.
Oh, standing stone, I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. And when you feel it, you rise. And we think about all the people out there who don't have a voice. This is our time to sing. and hold them up. Nod your head if you understand what I'm saying. So when you feel it, and not before, because your heart will tell you when. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. Believe it. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you.
Beloveds, I invite you to rise in body or spirit to receive the blessing. Holding your stone in your hand, and maybe at the same time we can form the gesture that we have become accustomed to as a reminder of our connection. Beloveds, you are standing stones. I invite you to take the stone that you selected and feel its weight. Hold it. Be mindful of it. How did those standing stones get there? It's a mystery. From all those thousands of years ago to now, we are part of that mystery, carrying on that tradition forward, but in a slightly different way. Beloveds, may we be solid, powerful, strong, standing stones for one another going forward and for our world. Blessed be, amen, and namaste.